Who's your, Joe Satino's the other part, right? Zone 5. We have Jeff Blake is Zone 6. Yeah. So that's kind of our quarterly meeting that we are trying to accomplish here. But we will announce everybody else. I want you to stand, please, when we do that. So first of all, we're going to do Pledge of Allegiance. And Sally Ann, would you start with us? Come on.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Doug Edwards is going to say an opening prayer.
If you would join with me in prayer. Heavenly Father, as we come here tonight, we just want to thank you for the privilege of living in this great country. We thank you for the opportunity we have to be here tonight, to meet together, to share ideas, to generate enthusiasm for what's needed for this year. We thank you for this church that has allowed us to meet in this facility tonight, and pray that you would bless them and their ministry. We ask that you would help us tonight, each one of us, to open our hearts and our minds up to receive, to hear, and to apply the good things that we hear tonight. Help us as we go into this election year to be mindful of the things that we need to do. We pray that you would give us guidance and wisdom as we approach our elections all throughout this year and our primaries, that you would give guidance and wisdom, and that your will would be done above all else. And as we think about the things that we say and do, help everything that we say and do to be something that's good for edification, for the goals, for ourselves, and for your glory. And we join tonight in lifting up a petition from the Psalms and ask, Father, that you would vindicate us, O God, and defend our causes against ungodly people. From the deceitful and unjust people, deliver us. For you are the God in whom we take refuge. Why have you rejected us? Why do we go about mourning because of the oppression of the enemy? Send out your light and your truth. Let them lead us. Let them bring us to your holy hill and to your dwelling. Then we will go to the altar of God, to God our exceeding joy, and we will praise you with the lyre, O God, our God. And we ask, why are our souls cast down, and why are they in turmoil within us? Let us hope in God, for we shall again praise him, our salvation and our God. And we pray this in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
So we'd like to recognize first-time people that have never come to a precinct meeting. Could you just stand just to see if we have any new people coming? That's awesome! Oh, thank you. Thank you all for coming. We'd like to recognize Greenville County Republican Party leadership. Yvonne is here, our GOP chairman. Thank you for coming. We'd like to recognize legislators that are in the room and government officials. Please stand. We see Rob Harris, Adam Morgan. We saw you all. Where are you? There's Adam Morgan. And we'd like to recognize our zone leaders and our precinct ECs and our presidents, because you are starting to make this happen. This is by these pieces, this little grassroots from the zone leadership down to the ECs, down to the presidents. People are talking, people are coming. This is almost a full crowd. How exciting. Please stand. Zone leaders, precinct ECs, come on. Mike Bowden, I see you standing. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Look at how awesome this is. What a great turnout. Thank you. So tonight, our special guest speaker, since 2011, Curtis Loftis, has faithfully served as our state treasurer, managing, investing, and retaining custody of nearly $70 billion in public funds. Known to many as the taxpayer's friend. Amen. He's championed efforts to improve accountability and transparency and eliminate waste and fraud in state government. He's returned hundreds of millions of dollars in unclaimed funds to South Carolinians. He's overseen continued growth of the state's award-winning Future Scholar 529 College Savings Plan. And in 2017, he launched a similar tax advantage savings program that benefits South Carolinians with disabilities, known as the Palmetto ABLE Savings Program. And my daughter's a special needs person, so I know what that ABLE account is. It's very, very important to special needs families. We're pleased to welcome him to our meeting tonight, Curtis Loftis.
That's the problem with being the treasurer. When they finish with your resume, everybody's asleep. Even the finance geeks are like, oh, give me a break. It's good to be here. Old age has caught up with me because I'm cold all the time now. I stopped to get gas and it said it was 54 degrees. I thought, what? You got here, it's even colder, so I don't know. I'm on the tail end slide, I think. It's nice to be here. I had a little time to get out of the office early, and of course, DOT, I'm probably the only person that takes up for the DOT. They have so much in the way of road construction going on now, record road construction. It's amazing what they're doing. But it's always where I want to go, right? I-26, south or north from Columbia, there you are. So I thought I'll leave a little earlier, and I'll have time to think about y'all and what I want to say. Well, 10 minutes after I got in the car, an hour and a half phone call started. And I don't know if you've ever had an hour and a half of arcane accounting, government arcane accounting, that dealt with hundreds of millions and billions of dollars in hundreds of accounts, and I don't even get a chance to look at it. I just got to listen to it. Everybody else is looking at the spreadsheets. So my mind is fried. It's good. I'm glad to be here in Charleston tonight. I ran into somebody, we were talking about being down in Charleston just by chance, and a friend of mine called. He said, I'm speaking to the Sea Island Republican Women's Club. I said, that's great. That's a good bunch. You're going to enjoy that. And I said, now you do know it's different from Greenville. What do you mean? I said, well, in Greenville, they start everything with a prayer. At the Sea Island Republican Club, they start with a gin and tonic. And he laughed, and I said, are you speaking? He said, yeah. I said, they'll love you. Give them a chance for 2 drinks, and you're all of a sudden the smartest guy in the room. I'm glad you mentioned, I'll do a little quick advertisement here. Unclaimed property. It's the best thing about my job. I get to play legal Santa Claus. I can hand you money, and it's legal. How about that? You know, it's no bribe. We have $850 million. And not one of you believes you have any money. That's the problem. Everybody is so smart. They never lost any money. We have substantial families now. And this is kind of a funny thing that's happened since COVID. We can't find a reason for it. They have one family in Myrtle Beach, just $1.9 million. Can't get them to pick it up. We have a professor at Citadel, $495,000. I've been housing him for 2 years. I don't know what's going on. Sometimes if it's a single guy, I figure there's a woman coming or going, and he doesn't want to bring the money yet. You know, it's not my business. But it's an interesting thing. We have in Greenville County. They gave me my Greenville County list. The first person on the list is $267,000. The second one's $250,000. The third one is on the list 3 times. It's $650,000 total. We have one family that I've been chasing for 5 years. I'm convinced they don't have any heirs left. And it's about $400,000. And I can't give you the name because I know that even though we're in a church, somebody's going to say, that's me. But if you know anybody whose last name is Hardesty, Hinscroft, Rito, if you know anybody's last name is Gallagher or Cara, and that's a funny thing, we're starting to get a lot of Hispanics now. They've been here long enough, their names are popping up, and some of these are $50,000 and $75,000. And, you know, we have a problem in certain communities, they don't trust us. They've seen the 60-minute things where they tell you to come get free apple pie and then they arrest you. So when the Black House of Representatives members say, "Will you come to my district?" I said, "Only if you'll be there with me, because otherwise they're not going to believe a word." We salt the field then. What we do is I get, like Carl Brown, your representative's buddy. Carl's a great guy from Georgetown. He's a Black Democrat. And we go down there once a year and have we join a kind of a bigger effort of a community support. And we do unclaimed property. And so we always find what we call, I hope it's not disrespectful, a low grandma that we owe a little bit of money to. And as soon as we can get her hopping up and down in front of everybody lines up. They now trust us, so she's vouched for me, right? But this is, this list is 12 pages long. You see how small the type is. And that's over $10,000 for each person on that list. It's funny, we go out and you know, you deal with politics and it's not always the prettiest and nicest of things, right? I think government can just be boring sometimes. So we'll go out and try to find folks who have money. We were, had to go to Seneca and then go over to Clemson. And there was some money, a couple $100,000 in central South Carolina. So we said, let's stop by there. Well, address is wrong. So we ended up in a barn, found a 1926 Ford that's been in a barn for 45 or 50 years. Nobody knows it's there. The house is gone there, yeah. So it's interesting. But we kept going and walking through the fields in our suits and stuff. And we finally were successful in waking up a couple that had just come back from Alaska and they'd just gotten in bed. But they weren't the people, but the next door neighbors were. There was $300-something thousand, if I remember right. We had a different lady from Greer, and they had a, how do I say this? They had a, what's the term they use? A boutique textiles. Now, if you're a guy, don't pretend you know what that means. But it's high quality, fancy, and expensive tablecloths and other things. Well, they were so good at designing it, they made a fortune. I mean, right out of the box. They didn't even have an accountant. The sales started so fast. And they made a conscious decision. We can stop doing what we're doing and raking in the money, or we can stop and bear a business and get accounts and all that. So they made the smart decision, just keep the money. What they didn't know was he was going to drop dead at 45 years old. And he was healthy, he was a runner and all that stuff. So she sold the business and left, and we had, I think it was $450,000. Couldn't find her anywhere. So finally I went to this, you know, there's a website called like Find Your Grave or gravesite.com or something like that. Found where her mother had been buried in South Dakota, but her relatives were from New Jersey. So I found that person, called, and the man who answered the phone was like that guy from the 1950s Teamster Mafia movie. What? You know? So I said, hey, this Saturday afternoon, I'm Curtis Loftis, I'm SC Treasurer in South Carolina. We're trying to find your sister-in-law who used to live in South Carolina. We owe her money. Click. You know, I'm a guy and I'm in politics, so I'm used to rejection. Don't like it, but I'm used to it. So I said, I can handle this. And besides, he's a long way away. So I picked up the phone, called him again, same thing again. Click. I was like, what can I say here? But I remember he's 700 miles away, so he's not likely to come find me. So I called him back and said, give me 30 seconds. That's all I want is 30 seconds. And then I'll never call you again. He said, all right. He said, I said, you know, I told him the story and what I wanted. He said, all right, here's what I got to say. I don't like you. I don't trust you. You got the world's worst fake Southern accent I've ever heard. He said, I think you're probably that Nigerian prince who follows me around the internet. He said, but I want you off my back. I'm going to give you to my sister, or sister-in-law, whatever it was, and she's going to call you back. Well, she called me back, the nicest person in the world. Immediately started apologizing for him. And the more she apologized, I could see the guy, he's got, they call them in the old days, heaters. And I think he's the guy who probably set the cement shoes. So anyway, she got her $300,000 or $400,000 worth of it. The story's been a while. But the point is, go to the state treasurer's website. It's free. You put your name in. You can search for your brothers, your cousins, your sisters. You can search for your town. Your town will have money. Clemson, Carolina. Lindsey Graham's had money. I got Jim Clyburn called Jim the other day. It's been a couple months now. I said, Jim, got money for you. How much? And we know him in politics. He's not our guy, but he's a hilarious guy in real life, and everybody would like him in real life. And he said, how much money you got for me? I said, it's a lot. He said, how much? So now I'm just torturing him, right? I said, it's a lot. And finally, the leader comes out. I said, okay, it's $100,000. And it's Jim Clyburn for Christmas Club campaign account or something like that. And it got lost. Well, the only thing worse than me telling him that is him trying to give me his driver's license numbers and stuff like that. And then me trying to take it. So finally I said, look, you get a staffer, call my staffer, and they'll do all this in 2 minutes. And we'll be through and you get your money. He said, deal. Well, so do that. And that's one of the things we do at the Treasurer's Office. The rest of the time, we're doing things that are a whole lot more boring. We managed, I think last night, what was in the bank and invested around the world was $44.4 billion. That's with a B. About $13 billion of that is local money, counties and cities. So we invest all of that. And it's interesting and it's fun and we're glad we do it, but it's not nearly as fun as giving you your money back. It brings us into a lot of other things. Like we deal with digital currencies and we're trying to fight back on that. ESG, things y'all all know about. And these things are really so insidious. It's easy to underestimate how bad they are. I look at them a little bit differently from everybody else, and I think that's because I went down the rabbit hole 7, maybe 8 years ago. Senator Corbin called me, gave me homework like every senator does, they give you something to do. Oh yeah, I'll be more than happy to do it. Well, literally for 8 years, I've been down that rabbit hole. In the last 6 months, I've been to 4 countries in 6 states or 5 states, talking to people about ESG, DEI, anti-racism, the sustainability goals of the General Assembly. I mean, it's amazing what they've done. But I'll try to boil it down, and this is the way I look at it, is all of these things are exactly the same thing. They're speech and behavior codes. People say, oh no, it's about investing. Oh, it's about race or sex or gender. No, they have given us speech and behavior codes. We've accepted them, and they have changed not just America, but the world. And it's the most amazing thing. And I watch it now, and there's been a lot going on with this Harvard case and several others. But you listen to it, and people think we've changed something. Nothing has changed. The radical left will not stop. So these programs, ESG and all that, they're just getting started. They will change the name. I noticed in one of the bills in the General Assembly, they're going away from evidence-backed to now science-backed. So they're constantly changing the language. It's the same stuff. I look at it. But it's insidious. And our problem is not the boldness of the left. Our problem is the cowardice of the right. And I had a ranking politician tell me not too long ago. He said, well, I don't want to really deal into this issue. And I can kind of see it because it really wasn't his issue. I was trying to drag him into something, right? He said, because I don't want to be called a racist. And I said, how in the world have you been in office that long and not been called a racist? I mean, everybody's a racist, a sexist, a homophobe, or whatever. And it's just, I'm 65, I guess the folks in here are younger and older, but it is unbelievable to me that the President of the United States can call half the people in the country racist. It's just, if you'd have told me that Mongolia was going to take over America, I could believe that quicker than I can believe what's happening now. So we got to fight back, and there's a lot of ways to look at it. Of course, the budget. Your votes. We got to do that, right? pick your candidate, go to the wall, and then whoever the Republican is has got to be better than who they have. You talk about a real insurrection. We've had a coup. Both my parents died in the last couple of years, and they were in great health and had great minds right until the very end, and then they both went off the deep end and became senile for a couple of months, and that was it. We all know that. We've all been there. And some of us think we're probably headed there ourselves now, if you're like me. The fact that that man is claimed to be our president, well, let me get back on the path here. So we got to vote, we know all that. But there's something even more important than your vote, and that's your money.
Yes.
And we have really got to, as a group, think about that. Why do I say this? It all operates on money. After Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street started, and this is like 2010, 2011, that's when the richest, most powerful people in the world, the left, mostly left, some on the right, coupled up with the radical left and said, here, we'll give you all the money you want, and we'll window dress it, but you leave us alone. And since then, they've made more money. They have gone from filthy, stinking rich to super filthy, stinking rich. And they're so rich now, the small little group of people who run the world, that they distort all of our tables and charts. You have to come up with new ways because just a handful of people cancel out so many others. It's really amazing. But it all operates on money. We could take the candidate that y'all think would change the world, because I'm sure there's some differences of opinions in here, but I won't get into all that. But so you're back and you think about your candidate. That person, he or she could win, and that's a good thing. But if 35 million Americans, that's only half the people who voted for Trump, turned off their cable TV, the world stops. It no longer revolves around the sun. It doesn't rotate. The winds don't blow. It doesn't rain. The world changes that day. But we have a problem. We like convenience more than we do freedom. Now, I understand this is a room that doesn't. I mean, this is a room that'll do what's taken. But we got to think about the people not in this room. But that's a problem. Now, people will say, well, where am I going to get my Fox News? Don't get me started on Fox News. If you think about it, we had a conservative movement, an actual conservative movement where people thought about the world and the interplay of us in it. Now we just have a soap opera. It's who's done what. They all got filthy, stinking rich, and we lost everything. So we can't worry about them, but we have to think about it. I quit spending money about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, after I went down the rabbit hole. That's easy for me. I've been divorced a long time, and I didn't have kids. I don't spend any money anyway. But my neighbors are not surprised when I pick up their bricks off the side of the road they threw away, because I'm not going to Home Depot. I'm not going to Lowe's. I'm not going to Target. If you catch me in a Target, you got full permission to shoot me right there on the spot. And I know this crowd's probably packed, right? But we have to think about that. One thing's going to happen too. I'm going to end up filthy rich. I'm going to leave all of y'all a bunch of money, because if you don't spend it, it's amazing. You keep it. But we cannot continue to fund them. Now, this is not the best analogy. I was going to work on this on the way up here, didn't get a chance. But I remember the Vietnam War, and I could remember somebody on my street, I don't know who it was, had come home from his training, and he had his uniform, and he was going back to the end of the street to catch the bus to go to war. I don't know if I was young, I don't know if he ever came back or what. But what if he'd come back for his vacation, and they got 2 weeks every couple of years they get to come home, and his daddy's sitting there writing a check to Vietnam, war relief. It's the same thing we do every day. Yep. Now, I know that people say, well, I watch church on Sundays. How about go to church, right? Amen. I watch football. I don't want anybody to look at my attendance, by the way. I'll make it clear. I've been a little spotty here. That's the problem with being single. You think, well, I can listen to it on my tractor as I'm, and I travel a lot. And the guy will say, well, I got to watch my football. No, go outside and play some football with your kids or your grandkids. We just have to reorganize our life, because it is not the left. I don't care how much they hate us. I don't care how much they want to control us through our central bank currency, digital currency, or ESG, or speech and behavior codes. They're locking our kids out of school. Yeah, Coastal Carolina has 60% of its people, it's a 4-year college, 60% of its students are from out of state. And then you get a 60-40 split males, females. So we have a state-supported school for about 16 or 17% of the people are males from South Carolina. I should think about that for a little while. 60-40 is across the country now, female to males. And it's been like that for decades. People just didn't realize it. Carolina, University of South Carolina has been 60-40 in-state, out-of-state, and females for a long time. The numbers bounce around a little bit. And COVID made them all look a little better. But now it's going back out what it is. You know, women don't marry down. Right, Yvonne? They want to marry. It's called hypergamy, and it's a whole science behind it. Look into it. But we're gonna have a generation where 40% of the men have a college degree, but 60% of them are going to make less than the women. And already in many fields in big cities, college-educated women make more than college-educated men in the same job. So you're going to end up with a culture where nobody's married. And it's already started. So we got to think about this and what we can do about it. And we've got to go back to what we spend our money on. I cannot stress it enough. I've thought about this 100 times, well, 1,000,000 times, over and over and over. Your wallet is the most important thing you have. And if we care about our country, we have to sacrifice, and we have to look askance on those who don't. In Columbia, I don't think there's a single Republican. I don't think there's a Republican that lives under the bridge that hadn't taken his kids to Disney in the last 6 months. Everybody I know is at Disney. How can that be?
Amen.
There you go. Yeah. So I know why, because the grandkids, I want to go to Disney. Oh, okay, you know, it doesn't matter. I'll do it. We just have to do better. So if we don't, they take us further and further because they see what they can do. Central bank digital currency. I've been working with that a lot. I don't know how to sum it up other than saying it ain't good. You know, it's the ultimate control. Plans are in place. This is not, I mean, I've seen them. I know a lot of them. I can read them. Well, they're difficult to read because they go on for so long. There are executive orders in place. It's all about control. Let me tell you a phrase they use, and I got to pull this out. So think about this. Should have marked it. Part of the 37-page executive order from the president. Now, I don't know how many there are now. I read the first 50 executive orders. I've never met anybody else that's read one. And I'll say, hey, who's read an executive order? You need to. You go online with an executive order, and most of them are 2 or 3 pages. You just got to read them. And once you read it once, put it down and come back the next day. It's not hard reading. The number one goal of the Biden administration is the all of government approach for diversity, equity, inclusion, and climate change. And so the military's number one goal is no longer to keep us safe. The Border Patrol is no longer to keep us safe. They can do that under this rubric. And it effectively cancels the Constitution. But here's what part of it says. Digital currencies affect the ability to exercise human rights, financial inclusion, and equity, and climate change, and pollution. So the point of them having the control of your money is so they can effectuate that sentence. Financial inclusion. That means me giving my money to you because you decided not to work for the last 30 years. Isn't that right? You should never be in the front row to be picked up. Equity, the same thing. Doesn't matter how hard you work, you're supposed to have the same thing I do. Climate change, what a scam. We all know that something's happening with the climate, and this actually is very good science, even at the United Nations on it. The problem is the modeling. And that's where they get us. So thank goodness John Kerry's moving on.
Yeah.
So the CBDCs are amazing. You know, some people look at them confused with, say, Bitcoin or different kind of cryptos. But cryptos can fluctuate. They are a different store of value. The central bank currency, especially a stable coin, it's just a dollar bill that's not printed. It's just electronic. Well, I said, well, that doesn't sound so bad. It's like a credit card. You know, it's not so bad. But it is, because they're tracking every bit of what you spend. Yep. And as we head closer toward this Chinese credit score type of thing, they just tell you what you spend your money on. That's right. And if they can make you be inclusive with your money, if they can make you have diversity, equity, inclusion as your primary goal, not feeding your kids, if they can have climate change and pollution was the last one, if that's the primary goal, is it your money? At least if you got a few bucks in your pocket, you can go spend it. But they got to give you permission. I watch very little American news. I can't stomach it. I'm in politics, right? I know when people start going to lie before they even get to the lie. I can smell it. You can have a stack of papers like this. I can walk over here. No, you don't want that, you know, because you just know it after you've been there. Where was I going with all that? That made me think. It's funny. I've been thinking a lot about the past. We've got a really big problem in state government that involves my office and some other offices, and it's made me think about a lot of things. And you forget whole things, right? I forgot that, like in 2011, we exposed from the pension plan that they were underreporting their pension fees by $250 million a year. Whoa. And this is old news. We got it fixed, and for my trouble, I got reported to the SEC, State Law Enforcement, Ethics Commission, and we had a series of hearings in the Senate where they put my divorce files from 20 years earlier into the file. They didn't put my divorce files. They put half the divorce files. So this is why I'm all the way off track. It's because we have a problem now that has to do with accounting. I'm working my way back. We have a problem with accounting in state government. It's awful. Sir?
As in, and county government.
Oh, yeah. Government accounting in its best is always behind the times. So if you want to be aggressive, they haven't even thought about that. That's what happened to the pension plans across the country. We figured this out, that every time private equity would change a contract and change the way the accounting was done inside that contract in the whole portfolio of businesses, the Government Accounting Agency Board would find out about it and act on it in 10 years. So in 10 years' time, in $1 billion fund, they might make $50 or $100 million scamming just the arbitrage in the old system and the new system, whether they made any money or not. So I bring that back because this is all about the central bank currency. It's about the speech and behavior codes. It's about lousy accounting that keeps your rights and privileges from you. Your money is your money. You've entrusted it via the Constitution and the the statutes, the state laws, to the state. It's there in trust to be spent on your behalf. And when you have these speech and behavior codes, when you have lousy accounting and whole accounting programs, it affects everything you do. It affects the money that's out there for you to spend. It affects the appropriations. So I'm not going to try to get into the crux of that accounting problem. It'll be in the paper. My office is going to be victorious, but we've been through hell for a year, and we'll get through it. But it's too complicated to try to explain. But it all comes from these same types of things. When reality stops being true, because they've changed the language on us. If you have an annual report, that means everything's got to be in that annual report. No, it's not. When they give you an audit, when somebody tells you my office is audited, that's when you know they're lying to you. Because government audits are no good. Did you see where CHE, Commission on Higher Ed, had an extra $150 million in their bank account? They didn't know they had it. It gets better. Why did they have that? It's lottery money. Because the universities didn't draw it down. Why didn't they draw it down? Because they've got all the money they can spend, but they're there begging for more money. So they had money they didn't know because the people on the other end couldn't justify drawing it down. There's also supposed to be audits. There are, I think, 18 colleges and tech schools that get that money. They're supposed to do 6 audits a year. Every 3 years, everybody's audited. They've done 6 in 5 years. So we've got money, it's laying around, it's destined for a purpose that they don't need, and there are no audits being done. That's how government works when you don't have conservatives in charge. We don't have conservatives in charge. So we've got to do better about that. ESG, and this is high level to low level, is how it works out. When you break the culture at the top, you change the language, you make sure that nobody can trust anything, then here you can do whatever you want. And I'll kind of end up, I think my time is getting close now. I won't have plenty of time for questions. I never see Republicans in Columbia. Virtually everybody who comes through my office is a Democrat. They're being paid, they're well-funded, they work for 501c3s, sometimes they work for business. You know, we can just get the Amazon or Google people. But I never see y'all. That's just a problem with us as people. We got a majority Republican state house. Get 8 of 9 constitutional officers are Republicans. The governor just appointed a Democrat. Don't ask me why. But you expect it to be done. The other side doesn't. The other side is relentless. They come in, they talk to us about something, they're trying to separate us from our money and give it to them. They raise their, which used to be evidence-based study, as they want to, do something crazy. And I'll say, oh, can I see this? Can I read this? Oh, this isn't it. This is not it. Because it never has. But they're there every day. I watched one of the hearings before 2 senators yesterday, and there were about 10 groups that came, and I don't know if there was a Republican that came through there at all, of the 10 groups. The left sets the framework. The left provides the academic and intellectual capital that comes into much of what's thought about down there. And so when we get mad at General Assembly, we have to say, well, what's our role? Why aren't we down there? So we've got to do a better job about that. And I hope you get a chance. If you don't, just write a letter. Once a week or something, pick out one of your representatives or somebody you know of, somebody you've heard of, and tell them that you surely hope there's better, more conservative government because you're just worried about the country. You don't have to do a whole lot. You just got to keep letting them know that you're out here and because the disconnect between the conservative people of South Carolina and the government is absolutely total. There's no connection whatsoever. And that's not just true in Columbia, but it's also true in a lot of city governments and county governments. And again, it's because of these well-funded 501c3s. The minute a city manager gets hired, there's somebody that says, you do a good job. We're going to send you up to the Riley Institute for a week up there. Oh, yeah. And then there's another Riley Institute, a different Riley, down in Charleston, both left wing. And if you're really good, we're going to send you up to the Aspen Institute out west. Yeah, or maybe even one of the local TED Talks. I mean, it starts immediately. They will never hear from a Republican. But, so it's nonstop. So what am I trying to say? State government is not a bad operation. It just needs conservatives. We've got some conservatives elected, and we've got more than we think. We just don't push them. We don't require them to do anything. We're not talking to them. And if you can manage that in a proper and respectful way, they'll respond. But we got to make them know, and that's your job. And I'll help you any way I can. We enjoy our job. I want y'all all to be rich, so check your name. And to show you how this works, Barack and Michelle Obama are owed money at 1600 Pennsylvania. They couldn't find the president and the first lady of the United States. And y'all smug Republicans are sitting there saying, I didn't get any money down there. You do. You're on this list, I guarantee you. Anybody got any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So what is the website for that?
It's treasurer.sc.gov, treasurer.sc.gov. There's a fake site out there that will charge you for the same thing. They're not bad people. If you don't want to mess with yourself, you can pay somebody. But you should come to the Treasurer's website. And it's a free search. Look up everybody you know. My mother, when she was 86, we gave her an iPad. Big mistake. But we gave her an iPad. And Danny and I were walking through the back of the house and going out to the back porch. We're going to have a cup of coffee because, like old men, it was 110 degrees and we're going out back. He was going to have a smoke and a cup of coffee. I was going to have a cup of coffee. And I heard her say, "Betty Jean, this is Mary Knox from the class of 47 in Inman." And talk sense, right? And I just want you to know that my son has money down at the treasurer's office, and your name is $560. and I said, let's get. I didn't know what was going on. Get outside. And I said, "Daddy, how about Mama? Isn't that something? Her age, figured out how to work that iPad, look up her friends, and is calling them." I actually found the phone number. He said, "You don't know a thing about women, do you?" I said, "Evidently not." And he says, "She wasn't calling to give her friend money. She was calling to let her classmate friend know that her son was the state treasurer." And I saw the women nod their head. They knew. You can do the same thing. You just know me, and you tell them if it's a lot of money, and they find a lot of money for themselves because of you. You just tell them, "I said it's state law, they got to share."
One more question.
Yes, ma'am.
This issue with the banking surveillance that's just shown up, what are we going to do about that here? I don't know if that's part of your
I'm the
situation.
chairman of the state banks, not the federal banks, but the state banks in South Carolina. And I get along real well with them. But they all laugh at me because I tell them if Joe Biden or whoever comes along behind him on the left, if they win, we will not have state banks in 2 years. Now, they just think I'm crazy. But once before, they loaded the state banks up with regulations. And so everybody merged up. You remember when all the banks were going away? Now, the bankers themselves, a lot of them made a lot of money, but they make money anyway. That's what they do. That's why they're bankers. And we like that about them. We don't want a poor banker. That's not a good thing. But I'm terrified of the financial outlook because the federal government wants to be involved with everything. And if I were Biden, if I were a Marxist, would I want to deal with thousands of banks or would I want to deal with 25 or 50? I'd want 50, and I want my finger on every one of them. And so I'm very afraid of that. I think the banks will I believe they'll wake up. If a Republican wins, I think maybe the threat goes away. But we don't want a country where the only way you can borrow money is to go to Bank of America or Wells Fargo or JP Morgan. It's just not good. So we're working hard on that. We work with the federal regulators on many things, and we talked to them about the interpretations of rules. But all of these statutes, the Bank Surveillance Act and CDBC and all that stuff, that's just misery in a package. None of them are good.
So you recommended that we all move to state chartered banks and people, is there a list that we can send to people and is that helpful? If we could build them up, would it be harder to get rid of them?
And we used to all deal with state chartered banks. It hadn't been, it was in our lifetimes that they allowed banks to go across state lines and now they're all gone. But there are a lot of good state banks and even some good regional banks too.
Right.
That are in say 3 or 4 states. But you can know those people. You just, if you go into these other banks, they're trying to close down every branch they can, whereas a lot of state charter banks are opening branches. And we've got some things we hadn't announced just behind the scenes that we're trying to work out about ways we can incentivize more lending, especially in communities that don't have rural communities, right? And so we're working on that now.
Is there a list of state chartered banks?
Yeah, on my website.
Okay.
And I'll send one up. You
Okay,
just remind me.
okay.
Yes, sir.
2-part question. First, what do you think of credit unions? And second, are we doing anything to protect South Carolina as a state? I.e., some of the states are going to gold backs. They're actual polymer with gold on them, or gold itself, the back of the state treasury.
It's a couple things. The first question, state charter credit unions, that's part of what we do. We love them.
Okay.
We love them. Now, there's actually a problem. The national credit unions, which do a good job at what they do, but they're behemoths. The national agency that runs them lets them do whatever they want. You know, the point was with credit unions, they don't pay as much in the way of taxes or any taxes, but what they do in place of that is really work hard to serve people that don't have a lot of money. They want both. And so now they've gone interstate, they have multiple states, they're huge institutions, and we're fighting a battle right now, it's behind the scenes. Some of the large federal credit unions want to buy our state banks. And I've interpreted the law, and I think I'm on good grounds, but we're saying no. Well, they're not happy, so. And then second, about gold. I had a long conversation with the treasurer of Georgia, I guess it was Tuesday, and we were both friends with the comptroller down in Texas, and that job is a behemoth. He's the treasurer and the comptroller, and it's Texas, you know, it's a country. They've made progress down there in gold, and that's good that they get out there in front, because, you know, we need somebody out front. But the treasurer and I were talking about from Georgia is how would the small states do it? Because, you know, it's harder for a small state, the scale, can you actually do it? And you end up depending on a private company. Now, some people get really hung up on that, but banks are private, or they're non-governmental, I should say, not private, because they'd be public corporations. But you end up and say you've got a warehouse full of gold, who's going to protect that, you know? And they've had some scares. There's another state that's done this, where there was some people who weren't particularly serious, but they were going to break in. But the guard said, well, we're not going to kill anybody, because, you know, we're a private security firm. They're high tech. So, okay, so if you got all of South Carolina's gold over there, and guys say, oh, well, you know. But we are looking at all of that. It is massively complex, because the Constitution is very clear. When it comes to money, and gold is not money, the federal government controls it all. And that's a real problem. But that's a benefit of gold, is that they don't control it. So we are, like I said, we spent 2 hours on the phone.
There's 5 states that have joined the OVAC, you probably know.
Yeah.
South Dakota just joined.
Oh, I didn't know that. In Utah, yeah.
Utah,
Is Wyoming one?
Huh?
Is Wyoming one?
Yeah, Wyoming,
Yeah.
New Hampshire, of all places
Okay.
on the East Coast.
Yeah,
There's
right.
about 5 states right now, I don't know if it's taking off, and they're about our size, you know,
Yeah.
pretty much.
But they're very limited in scope, and they probably will never be any bigger than that. That's why we're talking about, can we join together? And we do it in other things, and then we gotta make sure that it's profitable to us, and that we can get some kind of scale where we can do it, and that it need to be subsidized, and something that the federal government can easily shut down. So, but we're all working on it.
If I understand correctly, it's voluntary, so it's for businesses, whoever wants to accept it. So the government really allows it, it's not a part of it.
That's right, and it's not money. I mean, the Constitution is very clear. They decide how to mint it, everything about money is theirs, but it's not money. Yes, sir.
So basic problems of Republican faithfulness to platform, how much do you think closed primaries would help, or semi-closed primaries?
Yeah, I should know more about that, but I don't. I mean, it's just one of those things that the people who are into that, really into it, and I've run every 4 years. I'm not running again. I'm done with it, so I'm really not interested now. But yeah, I've been long enough, believe me. My rosy disposition is said to be not so rosy. But I don't mean to dodge it. You know, like we're about to see it in New Hampshire. They have open primaries. So I don't mean to, I hate not being able to answer the question. I just hadn't studied it. You know, I'd probably be if this group if we took a vote and y'all put your hands up, I probably would win inside and be very happy.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Steve, Curtis, I'm sorry to hear about your dad. You remember Steve Eisen?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Across the road from your
Yeah.
dad, right? Remember that time? Do you remember us trying several years ago to establish a gold currency in South Carolina, an ultimate currency? And what failed there? I remember I went down to the State House. We met in caucus rooms. We met with international people and stuff. Why did that fail? Because you can see now with the digital currency and the way inflation is $34 trillion. I know you got to be scared to death about what's happening to America, you and I being such conservatives. Talk to me about why did we fail
Oh, we have a bill.
again?
We have a bill that we're gonna be talking about. Rob Harris is gonna be talking about 3080.
One is, there's 1,000 reasons why you can't do it. I mean, and that, it's like, it's 1,000 reasons why you can't do it, but there's like one really good reason that outweighs all of those. And if it starts at the treasurer's office, then the General Assembly will slide it. If it started, I would not slide it, it starts over there, but it's harder for them because who's gonna go out front and get their head lopped off if it doesn't work? Now, I don't mind that because in the executive branch, we're responsible for what happens in our office. And like I said, last night we had $44 billion out. If we invested in something fake and it goes away, it's me. I can't blame it on anybody. But if you're in the General Assembly and you got 150 people voting for a judge, and the judge gets drunk tomorrow night and runs over a duck, and it's in the newspaper, I'm just one guy, who knew? I just took leadership responsibilities. So progress is being made, but it's hard. One thing we had back then, and this is tangential, but it mattered. When Bitcoin went sky high and then went sky low, that affects anything that's not traditional. And if you start talking about gold, and they say, well, we saw what happened to Bitcoin. Not the same thing. But you see, so we're on it, and I suspect it's gonna be like guns. If we were to lose the election in November, just like we did before in 2000, whatever it was, when everybody went and bought guns, it may be that something bad like that really puts the impetus on it. But we're kind of working on it every day. Not making a lot of progress, but working on it every day.
So you believe that if things get a lot worse, there's a much better chance that South Carolina can do what we tried to do,
Yeah.
was that 8 or 10 years ago?
You're a visionary, man. You're reminiscing about the future. I'm with you. Again, it's a little bit like the question of primary. I'm with you. We got to figure it out. But there literally are 1,000 reasons that we can't do it. And we have to bat them down every day. There's something. And there's somebody will call an office and say, well, there's this law here, and there's this case in Texas, or whatever. And you say, okay, your lawyer spends a week trying to figure that out. So it's like I said, there's 1,000 reasons. We just have to do better. And I'm glad I got out here today because I see what's on everybody's mind, and I got to go back and jump on my people. It's their fault. It's not my fault.
But how do you, talk to us about a regular person, how do you pay your mortgage, or how do you go buy a loaf of bread with any of this gold back? How does it work? That's what I don't understand.
Well, that's the part that I don't have to worry about. It's my part is to make it available. But you don't have to, like, yeah. I mean, it's like,
Liberty
what's the-
Dollar.
Yeah, it's an alternate form of currency. It's like a Bitcoin in that way, but not everybody may take it, but they might, so you have to, these are some of the problems, right?
It's like Liberty Dollar.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, could you address what I kind of like to call the dumb tax, the state lottery, which I think is really immoral because I think it just pulls a whole bunch of money out of the poorest parts of our state, poorest citizens. Where is all this money going? What's the state of it? And,
There's a whole bunch of it. That's the 155 million I was talking about.
Yeah.
That's just a portion of it. Do I have it here? Might have it right here, how much money we brought in last year. I've got it in my briefcase. I'll show it to you when I get down there. It's the reason why and the federal government's involvement with the student loan program is the reason why college costs so much. It's insane what college is. It's easy for me to say this because I'm not in the General Assembly, but if I were in the General Assembly, I would vote zero money for any of them. Because it is absolutely ridiculous. The things they have, you go out and you ride through the countryside, you ride through half the cities, and you see how people live. And then you go over and you look at a $90 million indoor football stadium, and they're gonna build a $70 million this and $1 billion with a medical school and veterinary clinics up there. They came to, I'm sure the people arguing a bit about this, but Clemson wants to build their own veterinary school. I said, well, fine, it's gonna take you 10 years, and I think we figured up that it would be 10 years before they got the first graduates out. I said, why don't we take the money we're gonna spend and the money we're gonna save and just go out and buy the veterinarians and bring them here? Because if we could buy 500 veterinarians or something, bring in the practices here, we'd have 10 years of practice. I mean, at the University of South Carolina Medical School, they graduate 100 students a year in Columbia. 50 of them leave the state the first day, never to come back. And we're going to give them $400 million so they can do that in bigger numbers. None of it makes sense except they come before the General Assembly and they get what they want. Yesterday, or 2 days ago, in the committee that sees it, when Clemson finished its presentation, the room erupted with claps. I mean, they charge an absolute fortune to go to it cost me $366 to become the genius that I am now, right? $366 a semester at Carolina. In 4 years, it skyrocketed to $10 to $376, and then they brought in student loans. And I can tell you, can't say much about this because it's an hour. The Treasurer's Office was intimately involved in the student loan program. And Obama closed it, I'm glad he did, right about the time, closed kind of, about the time I came. The 501c3s that were involved with that were making so much money, you can't imagine. Back then, this is 12 years ago, the head guy of one of those 501c3s was making $650,000 a year. And we wonder, when our partnership ended, you'd think we have a partnership with this group, so we'll have half the money, and they'll have half the money, because there's always money left over. We got $100 million. They got $440 million. The whole thing, not just the part the students saw, but the background, the underlying accounting and the procedures that went through it, the insurance, every bit of it was crooked as hell. Every bit of it. And that's why we have woke colleges that changed the world, because they had so much money come to them that nobody could deny them anything. Yes, sir.
The banks that you refer to as state banks, are they part of the Federal Reserve and the FDIC?
They can be a member of the Federal Reserve or a member of the FDIC.
The reason why I'm asking is because North Dakota has a banking system that operates outside that system.
But it's not actually a bank, though. We have something similar to it here.
It takes deposits.
It takes deposits for state agencies.
No, it takes deposits from state citizens. You have to live in North Dakota to make a deposit.
I wasn't aware of that. The treasurer up there was a friend of mine, and I said the same thing you said. She said, no, let me disabuse you of this. It is not nearly what you think. In fact, we've done a lot of research on how we could replicate that bank, but make it a real bank. Its main job is to serve the state and to make loans and grants inside state government to things. Now, it may take, I don't know if does it take only Native American deposits maybe? There's some kind of.
It takes if you're a resident of North Dakota.
She's actually going to be in Charleston next week. I'm going to see her. I'm going to get her again.
That's my understanding.
Yes, sir. I believe you. Anything else? Those get late. Yes, sir.
How far are we from digital currency actually being implemented?
The plans were all there. It's just whether they think they can pull it off. And the stuff going on around the country, we tend to think that people are waking up on our side of the fence. I hope so. We have to get more vocal, and we don't need to be the Black Lives Matter, Antifa types. We need to be more positive, but we need to be able to come to Columbia. We need 15 or 20,000 people in Columbia. If I spent the next year trying to get people to Columbia, I get 8. Because that's just the difference between the left and the right. And one of the problems is when they show up, half the people are paid. There are 5,500 501c3s in South Carolina that are community building. And there's a paid staffer in every one of those. They get 5,500 people just by picking up the phone and saying, hey, don't forget you work for us. They have people who work for them that make $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year running these types of things. Some more than that. I got to get specific. But we said the state spends over $1.5 billion with 501c3s running state programs. There's not a conservative in the bunch. We elect Republicans and then we pay and appoint the left to run. So, yes, ma'am.
When you even our, Lindsey Graham said that those January 6th were been shot in the head. I don't know.
I think he's moderated on that, I hope.
I just don't think that they respond the same way to peaceful protesters like right-wing people when they go to all places, and that's even a supposed Republican.
Yeah, but January 6th was just an odd occurrence. I mean, you couldn't make it. It was funny, I got invited to go. I said, no, I don't want to go, because I know what'll happen. I'll be walking across the ellipse, and some guy, I'll look at him just because there's somebody walking toward you, and he'll get on me, and I'll get on him, and we'll be jawing back and forth, and somebody will say, that old man was mean to me. Little did I know what was going to happen. Who knew that a bunch of 60 and 70 and 80-year-olds walking through the Capitol building without any weapons were going to be considered insurgents? It's a fantasy, and this goes back to, if we don't control the national narrative, we lose every day, it doesn't matter how we are, and we fund it. We pay for it, we have got to stop. I know people don't want to do it, but we got to quit with it. And some people say, well, I quit with cable TV. But then they don't tell you they've got $250 worth of pay-per-view services. I quit with it about 5 years ago. And I didn't watch a lot of TV. You go cold turkey for a little while. But then you think, how in the world did I ever have time to mess with it? Now, I have replaced it with YouTube, but because I have to have internet. And I love my cat videos. All right, it's got to be getting late. When y'all start laughing at cat videos, you know.
It's right here.
Thank y'all very much. It's good to see you.
Okay, so we're just running a little bit behind, but we're gonna, Stuart Jones was in a subcommittee meeting, so we're gonna switch it up a little bit, and Rob Harris is gonna come talk about the gold and silver bill that is out there. And then Adam Morgan's gonna talk about some of those really cool bills about the Do No Harm bill that came through and the Loyalty Oath Freedom Caucus, so that's awesome. So a few minutes on that, and we'll keep going. Rob Harris?
Thank you so much. Thank you. I guess since Stuart's here, I guess Adam's a fairly good replacement for Stuart. So yeah, I'm Rob Harris, and I am not here telling you I have a bunch of money to give you. So that's just, I'm not starting off like that. In fact, I'm here to save you millions of dollars. Right? Now, there's a lot of folks I work with that would be happy to promise you all kinds of money, right? And for what they do. But for those, I'm looking around, and I'm just, before we started, I know a lot of you from years past, before I was even a representative, and just from some of the current work you do, who is involved in like an election integrity type things here? Raise your hand. Yeah, pretty many. So I saw some of y'all down in the Capitol, and I appreciate that at the last rally. But for those who don't know me, let me just introduce myself. Rob Harris. I'm District 36, just west of Spartanburg. Married 37 years. I have 10 children. That's not a typo. And they are great door knockers.
And singers.
Yep. And so operating room nurse. I'm an EC as well. So when I'm not down in the State House, I'm in the operating room, in fact. Not a lawyer, legislator, that kind of thing. And so we got after the 2020 election, we got very concerned, as many of you are probably here, about the direction our country's going. So I'm like, we got to do something. So had a little door knocking experience with a couple candidates and some little things here and there. But I said, you know what, I bet you we have the boots on the ground with the kids. I know what they're capable of to do a campaign of door knocking to get in. So we did. We jumped in 9 weeks, 3,500 doors, and I beat out a 23-year incumbent head of the education committee, CPAC's lifetime score of like 62%. So I give my family a lot of credit for that. And while I'm thinking of it, my daughter is over there. Raise your hand, Liberty, aptly named. She is my campaign assistant, and I send out emails, and they're a little spicy. I'm warning you. But if you want to be on my email list, I'm going to have her start sending that clipboard around. If you want to sign up, if if it's too hot for you, then you can always unsubscribe. But she's going to send that around. If you don't mind, sign up, and you can get kind of inside scoop about what's going on down in the State House. So some of the things we won, and I'm also a proud member of the South Carolina Freedom Caucus, and Adam Morgan here is our chairman. Happy to serve with those 17, really, we're the conservative wing of the Republican Party down there. I'm telling you, it's a swamp. I thought it was bad, but I had no idea. And so some of the things I ran on. I take my Christian values right down to my desk at the State House. Proud of that, and I swore an oath to protect our Constitution. I take that very seriously, and so anything constitutional, I'm all for it. Everything conservative, I'm all for it. I'm even I work with folks that don't even support the South Carolina Republican Party platform. Right? We have people voting for bills that go against that. So I'm for everything conservative. And some of the things that I particularly ran are near and dear to my heart is equal protection for the unborn. I filed a bill to end abortion in South Carolina entirely. Have to do that, working on that. And, he was talking about closing the primaries. I have a closed primary bill I filed. That's a huge problem, and I know everybody here understands that. But I've also filed some other bills on election integrity. And some of you were down at the State House lately for that, the People Want Paper rally. I appreciate your help. I know probably more would have come if it wasn't such a terrible storm. But we had a great turnout. And you people, and so many of you are, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the SC Safe Elections, maybe some of you are involved with them. They've been doing tremendous work over the last months. They've been hammering the people in the Judiciary Committee with letters and emails, and that's what Curtis was talking about. It's when the people get fired up and do something, stuff starts to move. So we're talking about these other bills about gold and silver. There's a bill that Stuart Jones, who couldn't be here tonight, filed 3080. It does just that. It says South Carolina, we can use gold and silver as legal tender. You have to accept it. You don't have to use it, but you have to accept it if someone wants to use it. Right. And, getting that off the ground, I'm an operating room nurse and not a banker. I don't know how, that it's going to take some time to get people. But if you all get fired up about it, that'll help. And then, there is a bill, I'm trying to think of the number, about digital currency, outlawing that. It's 4373. There's a bill already, I'm a co-sponsor, to not allow banks to deal with digital currency in South Carolina. And that's all good. Like everybody, I found as soon as you get into the office, like, oh, you gotta file a bill about this, and we need to do this, and that's fine, we'll file the bills we want, but what happens is the leadership down there doesn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. When I first got down there, I think I spent one day in the Republican caucus because the same people, the conservatives come to town and they know what happened. There's a lot of turnover in the elections. I was part of the third largest freshman class ever in South Carolina history. Lots of turnover. A lot of people are fired up. They're helping good candidates. And I think they're afraid they're starting to lose control of things down there. So, yeah. So they wanted us to, loyalty oath, and I'm sure you all probably heard about that. But so I spent one day in the Republican caucus. I think I wouldn't sign it, of course, and so they kicked us out. So, but they've also told us that they've told some of us to our faces, your bills are never going to get out of committee. Merle Smith told the news agency down there about one of my bills. They said, we have no intention of letting that out of committee, quote. So, I mean, we're not going to get credit for anything, even if we try to, file bills. So that's the problem. And so, it takes folks like you, and I'm using the safe elections and the election integrity push in the rally we had to prove a point, is that they had a very well-organized ongoing campaign to sell letters and emails and specifically surgical precision. These people on the Judiciary Committee, some probably to their local reps too, and it worked. They got a meeting with the chairman of the Judiciary, and then so the same day we had that rally, not to get on a tangent, but there was another bill, S406, that I put a bunch of amendments on that would have made the tabulating of the early ballots kind of get it into the system, and I thought that was a bad idea, put a bunch of amendments on it, and we killed that. So I'm saying all that to say that the energy that goes into a consistent campaign to get to these legislators, if you're going to change their environment, they'll get the message. And so the same day that got recommitted to the judiciary, basically killed it, and they told me, now I haven't seen it happen, but they told me that my bills are going to get a hearing. So that's the pressure that you put on. Now we have to keep the pressure on because there's nothing on on paper yet. It's not on the agenda yet. So I'm not a fool, but at least it got their attention. And that's from you all and all those folks that help. So it takes, legislators are good. We gotta file the bills. We gotta be there. You gotta support good people so that we can have a bill like the gold and silver and getting rid of digital currency. But it's not going to go anywhere unless you keep the pressure on them, right? Yes. So yeah, I just want to say I think I'll probably let Adam. You want to come up here and talk about the do no harm? But maybe I should take some questions first. I don't know if you want to do it together or how you want to do that. Go ahead.
Yeah, just real quick about
yes.
the RNC's Bank Your Vote initiative. What do you think about that with regard to this early tabulation of votes?
Oh, I think we need to have same-day paper ballots.
But our RNC
yeah.
today for this
Yeah.
election is pushing Bank Your Vote now. I mean,
Yeah.
Drew was on radio talking about
okay.
it. Yeah, and so.
Sorry, Adam, I didn't mean to be premature. So I tried to defund Eric through the budget process, and the founder of Eric, David Becker, said that you can watch him on YouTube come out of his own mouth. Eric is the most successful voter registration system effort ever in the United States. It's all about getting people registered, and in my opinion, it's okay if you get someone registered and they actually do go vote and they're actually good conservatives. But you know why people aren't registered to vote? Because they don't care. So if you get a bunch of people who don't care, they're not going to show up to vote because it's not their thing. And so now they have all these extra registrations, banked, and that's the problem. I would argue that's the problem.
Okay, good.
So
that's what I wanted to hear.
yes, okay, gotcha. You want to talk about do no harm?
Yeah.
This is Adam Morgan, the chairman of the South Carolina Freedom Caucus.
Now you got to understand something. There's different people at the State House that are hated more than others. And you just heard from one of the most hated people, probably in the state of South Carolina, I would say. Rob Harris, he has a challenger, correct? Announced. He has an announced challenger. Rumor is a relative of his is going to be running against my brother Alan in Greer. Two brothers, ironic. And his challenger, I believe, I don't want to say that he is, but there's a concerted effort to recruit and fund challengers against conservative candidates. And that effort is being led by House leadership. Just this week, the Assistant Majority Leader, Republican, Jay West from Anderson County. He actually was a Democrat. He headed up John Kerry's campaign back. So well, he was a Democrat, not during back in Reagan era or pre-Reagan era. We're talking recent times. He was a Democrat. So he switched parties. He somehow ended up being the Assistant Majority Leader. And he was on stage at a special interest group about gas this week. And on stage, sitting with the Minority Leader of the Senate, Democrat, they're sitting on stage, and I guess they were doing some kind of panel discussion. And he said, "You all in here, you've got to help us. We have a serious problem. There are these crazy people that are in office in South Carolina, and they're all in the Freedom Caucus. They're crazy. And the quality of candidate is your fault. You've got to open your wallets, and your special interest you've got to fund and recruit candidates to run against these crazy people and get them out of office because they're just ruining the institution of the legislature."
Wow. Good.
And then the Senate Minority Leader, Democrat, goes, "Oh, I couldn't agree more. They're crazy. They're just ruining things. We all used to get along better and do all this. We were just the best of friends." And they joked about they vacationed together. This former Democrat turned Republican and the Minority Leader, begging special interests at a lobbyist function, begging them on the record, I need you to give money and recruit candidates against Rob Harris, Ashley Trantham, Mike Burns, Alan Morgan, Jordan Pace, Jay Comar, and all of us, the 17 Freedom Caucus members. On the record. That is next level, just out, like they don't care anymore. They're working with Democrats, they're colluding with Democrats, they're begging special interests for money openly. It's not even a secret anymore. That's in South Carolina. That's going on right now. Another thing that happened, last week, they had new rules that they were going to change the institution, the House of Representatives, the way it functions. The new rules, almost exact copies of Nancy Pelosi's rules when she neutered and gutted the rules in the House of Representatives, in Congress. No more motion period. Members will no longer be able to make motions to pull something out of committee on the floor. And during cloture, which is basically any important hot button issue, all the abortion bills, save women's sports, constitutional carry, they invoke cloture so we speed debate along. During cloture, all amendments are thrown out. So you can't amend unless the majority leader and the minority leader hand select 12 each. Sound pretty good, right? Because the majority leader, the Republicans, at least get 12 amendments. Problem, we have a supermajority. That, first of all, completely dilutes the Republicans' power. We're now equal. There's 30 Democrats and 80-some Republicans. Why in the world is it 12 amendments each? Bigger problem. The majority leader has said publicly, I am not going to let any Freedom Caucus bills or amendments pass this year. And he gets to pick what amendments get heard. So what that means is on the floor of the House, all 17 of the Freedom Caucus members, all the most conservative members, the people who have filed Save Women's Sports, constitutional carry, the vaccine mandate prohibitions, you name it, the election integrity, whatever issue, all of the strong conservative ones come from our caucus, every single one. We will no longer be able to amend on the floor. That's how we stopped the firemen from losing their jobs back when they had the mandates. That's how we got a vote on closed primaries for the 2 years in a row because they won't get it out of committee. It's an effective way of completely restricting and limiting conservatives' ability to legislate, stifling debate, and completely neutering the institution. That's what they were going to do last week. We found out about it. We alerted the grassroots. I know a lot of y'all in this room helped us. People went nuts. Talk radio helped us a lot. People went nuts, and they just got flooded, and suddenly it had passed out of Rules Committee with only one Republican opposing it. They have not read it across the desk. I've never seen this in 6 years in the State House. Anything that comes out of committee, they literally take it, they read it across the desk, and you vote. It gets on the county, you vote on it. Because of y'all and the pressure around the state about that rules change, they took it, partially read it, and then stuck it over, and it's just sitting on the desk and has been for days. So every day we think, are we taking it up today? Are we going to neuter the institution today? What are we going to do? And what's happened now, the rumor is that they don't know what to do because they know they're going to get destroyed when we get on the floor. Because we dropped, 30 amendments to House rules, including adding the motion to vacate the chair, which is what they did in D.C. Right? So if they bring these rules up, we get to really have fun and do a whole lot of fun amendments that they'll have to actually vote on. So they're not even reading it. But the crazy thing to me is that we are at a place, this is the same group of people, they kicked us out for a loyalty pledge. They said, sign this, sign away your right to ever criticize publicly another elected Republican in the House. We have a supermajority. How am I not going to accidentally talk bad about 80-some members of people, who some of which are actually completely closet Democrats? They're not even closet Democrats. They are literally Democrats. They just run as Republicans. And one of the things they said was we couldn't share pictures of the public voting board anymore because it made people look bad for how they voted, right? Yeah. And that was our problem for sharing with constituents. So they kick us out of caucus. Well, did you know that since that happened, they all signed away their right to criticize other members. The chairman of LCI, Bill Sandifer, from right here in Oconee, not too far from us, he was busted because 2 lobbyists came forward and gave sworn affidavits and said, he told us that if we donated to his campaign, he'll let our bills out of committee. Give us, completely breaking state law, by the way, don't worry, our ethics laws aren't that bad. Completely breaking state law. They investigated, they said there's probable cause, they referred it to criminal prosecution, and he is still in House leadership today. They've done nothing. They've not removed him. He is still sitting, deciding what bills get out of LCI. He's the reason we had a neutered or watered down version of the ESG bill, by the way. That guy, he's a Republican. We've called for his resignation, his removal as chairman of LCI, but guess what? All those other Republicans, they can't do that. Why? Because they signed a crony unprecedented loyalty pledge. So see the cycle here? The people who pushed that loyalty pledge through, they had reasons. They had dirt. They had skeletons. They have terrible votes that they can't take. One of our members specifically said in that caucus meeting, what if somebody does something illegal or immoral? Does this rule mean that I can't call them out or campaign against them? They had a little sidebar where they were like, yeah, that is how it works. That actually happened. Anyway, so I got to get on because we want to hear from the other candidates. But this week, you saw it all play out on the floor why this matters so much. And I'm going to give you homework that I hope all of you will do. This week, we took up Help Not Harm. You familiar with the bill? Yes. It restricts any gender transition surgeries or procedures on minors, which is long overdue. Stuart Jones, who was supposed to be here, filed this bill a year or 2 ago, and they didn't give it a hearing. It wasn't a priority until we hit an election year, right? So it gets to the floor. In subcommittee, they didn't add criminal penalties. So if you castrate a child through these medical procedures that we're outlawing, there was no criminal penalty. Right. Georgia and North Carolina both had serious penalties, but there weren't going to be in South Carolina. So it was coming to the floor, and they were telling us, don't amend and add criminal penalties. You'll mess up the bill. Like, how does that mess up the bill? Georgia and North Carolina did it. We're not messing with the bill. We're going to make the bill stronger. Right. So they knew that was coming. They told everybody, don't vote, shouldn't be voting for Freedom Caucus amendments. So there were a series of amendments. One was revoke the license of the doctor that's medically castrating the children. Yes. Republicans vote with Democrats, and they vote it down. Wow. Another one was the criminal penalties. Josiah Magnuson brought it forward. They voted down. Shockingly, I actually was shocked by that one. I thought for sure Republicans would vote to say, you medically castrate a child and break the law that we're passing, you actually have criminal penalties. They voted down. And then something amazing happens. Do you guys know who Riley Gaines is? Oh, yes. So Riley Gaines, she's following it. I'm not sure if the story is Ashley Transome texted her or if somebody else, I don't know what happened, but something happened. She found out about it. She goes and tweets and of the picture of the board, of the vote, and just says, this happened in not in California, in South Carolina. Just excoriates them and says, primary every one of them. And suddenly, leadership doesn't know what to do because 1 million eyes, literally 1 million people saw her call them out, and it starts going viral, and they all start getting hit up, and people are calling and texting. And suddenly they completely turn around, and they not only pass criminal penalties, they make it a felony, which is what it should have been from the beginning. So anyway, so that passed. That was great. But then, another amazing thing, Thomas Beach has an amendment on the desk that would require that if at school, the kid starts saying, I am a different gender, or starts saying, I want you to call me by this pronoun, it would require the school to report to the parents. Because parents don't know. That's something important to know. It doesn't even say they can't do it. It literally just says the bare minimum. If it starts happening at school, it has to be reported to the parents. Don't you think that's kind of something important to let parents know that something seriously is going on with a child that they deserve to know? The majority leader, Davey Hyatt, from Pickens. I mean, how in the world he gets elected in Pickens, I have no idea. The majority leader gets up at the well and just starts raving, this is awful, this is so overly burdensome on our teachers, and I can't believe y'all would want to do this. This is just a new low. And I was just dumbfounded to hear the majority leader spouting leftist talking points about how there should be no reporting requirement to parents, related. Did you know the story of the girl in Florida who they literally the teacher helped her transition, and the parents had no idea while she was at school? Yep. And they voted it down. So the reporting requirements aren't in there. So, the good news. We won, the bill passed, it's a felony, that's fantastic. The other good news, people are really paying attention now.
That's right.
Like I feel like the last 2 years, things are changing in South Carolina.
That's right.
And while I'm ripping off the scab, and some of you, I could see some of your eyes look horrified about some of the stuff I said. I wish I could have time to jump into what he was talking about. Our Legislative Oversight Committee discovered or found that there was $154 million sitting in an account that was on the Commission of Higher Education that no one just knew was there. And they keep asking for more and more money, and it just suddenly was found. Anyway, the guy has resigned that was ahead of it, but that was related to the what's it called? The lottery, the education lottery. And they were repeatedly coming to the General Assembly saying, hey, give me more money. And they had $154 million just sitting there that they didn't even know was there. That's the state of South Carolina. So I know, as I tell you those things, you're like, oh my word, this is crazy, this is awful. But you cannot imagine how much better it is than it used to be. Like people are actually, there is transparency. The moderates are scared. The moderates are constantly looking over their shoulder. They're literally trying to change House rules to stop us. Yep. And they're getting beat at that. Amen. So my homework for you, what I want you to do, first of all, have hope. This is not a hopeless cause. We are conservatives. We are actually conserving and preserving something amazing that our grandparents and parents gave to us. We still have so much going for us and so much to defend. But what I need you to do is figure out who your legislator is. I hope you already know. If you don't, South Carolina House of Representatives, find your legislator. You can Google it. Contact them this weekend and tell them, please vote against the Pelosi-style rules to neuter the House of Representatives. Nice. And if you vote for it, I will go personally file and run against you. And you should mean it if you say it, but I really encourage you to seriously think about that. I'm dead serious when I say that, or if you can't, say I'll find somebody that will. Because we're at a point where the pressure in chamber to vote against conservatives is pretty great. So the courage of the people that are kind of caught in between, let's just say the moderates, or let's say the weaker ones that want to be with us but don't like the pressure, they have to have more pressure from you than from leadership. Leadership's got a lot of sticks, but guess who's got a bigger stick?
We do.
I'll run you out of office and ruin your name.
Yep.
That's you. You can do that. And so you've got to send the threat, and don't let it be an empty threat. Actually follow through. Watch how they vote, especially on this one. We'll run into different policy things where people, some people take bad votes on certain things, and I get it. I'm not going to criticize every single vote of every single person. People who represent different areas. But when we're talking about the fundamentals, when we're talking about, medically castrating children, when we're talking about completely upending House rules to remove all conservatives' ability to legislate, we're at very serious times. Yes, if I'm supposed to do questions, I need to get off stage.
Can you tell me the number of that?
Yeah, thank you.
Help not harm? I'm so bad with bill numbers. I don't know.
No, is that the bill for the Pelosi one?
Oh, the House rules is what is it?
4735.
4735. Yeah, the House rules. And I would just say vote no. Like I could jump into a nuanced explanation.
No, that's good.
There's one part that's pretty good that would change, that would allow, before you invoke cloture, it allows 3 hours of debate. We all agree with that. But the rest of the rules are just literally abysmal. So, vote no to the Nancy Pelosi style rules. So that's the thing they're trying to confuse people. They're like, oh, they don't want extra debate. It's like, well, no, that's great. If you had that as its own standalone amendment, we'll all support it. But you're literally destroying the power of individual legislators with every other change.
What's a comfortable number of conservative legislators to have in the House? So
a comfortable, I don't know, 80, let's go with 80. No, I'd be pretty comfortable with that.
Let's say a realistic number.
So realistically, that's a good way of, I think we could pick up 15 seats easily. this next cycle. I mean, it's going to be an all-out war. I don't believe it's overstating to say this is the most important election. The primary is the most important primary election in South Carolina history, other than maybe the Civil War. I don't. Probably should always have that caveat in South Carolina, but legitimately, the soul of the Republican Party is at stake in South Carolina, and if the Freedom Caucus goes down by even a couple members, and we don't pick up many new ones, that suddenly all the people watching, the members who are kind of caught in the middle are going to be like, oh, leadership and lobbyists have more power, and they're going to be way less likely to join. Also, lobbyists are definitely watching this. I've already seen it. It's like they don't know. Everybody's like, ooh, what's going on? Who's gonna be in control next year? And which is actually a good place to be, because it makes them less likely to openly go against conservative members. But like I said, if what happens is people aren't paying attention, and all these, rhino hacks all get reelected, and they knock off, a bunch of our people, I think you're going to see major setbacks in the legislature. And you have to remember that the Freedom Caucus, over half of it comes from the upstate. I think 7 of our members are in Greenville County. 2 are in Spartanburg and 2 are in Anderson. So it's likely that you might have a Freedom Caucus member or a Freedom Caucus sympathetic member. And if you have one of those, tell them to get their butt in the Freedom Caucus. But we'll leave that alone. So, anyway, well, thank you all so much. I'm going to turn it over.
So you guys, we're going to go into a couple of our Greenville County candidates that are running for Greenville County Council against these tax increases. Gary Callens, why don't you talk first? District 27. This is Butch Pervin's seat. So Gary's going to talk a few minutes. There you go.
Thank you very much. Like they are in Columbia, the Freedom Caucus, they're on a fight for survival of the state. And they're trying to do everything they can to combat what's been going on. And we here in Greenville County have seen the same thing going on. So we'll let the Freedom Caucus take care of Columbia, but we need you people here locally to take care of the county council. I'm Gary Collins. I'm running for District 27. I'm going against a 20-year councilman. 20 years. Okay? He is known on the sidebar as Mr. Philo, the king of the Philo. That's a fee in lieu of taxes. Okay? And one of the reasons I'm running is because I want to preserve the identities of our communities before it's too late. It's not too late yet. But let me tell you, once it's gone, it's gone. Okay? So we need to fight for that. And here's what it is. We need someone that is not a full-time politician for 2 decades. Okay? Because my view will change probably every 2 or 3 years on something. So it's a little out of tune. And we need to get that back to us. We need someone that is going to stand up to the special interests. Yeah. Believe it or not, the special interests are everywhere when it comes time to who do I need to call in the council. As Mr. Adam mentioned, they are watching. The word is out. The dust is rising, as you know what I mean. And we also need somebody that will take your voice to the council to be heard. Seems like every time they get up to something, they have issues to come about. No one listens to the people. The taxes. How many emails, how many people showed up, and what they do? They went ahead and did it. And let me tell you, I'm a fiscal conservative, have been all my life, and I'm a constitutionalist. And let me tell you, when you say that to some of these candidates, they look at you like you're something of a different planet. It works, people, but we have to get motivated. And I am going to do that for District 27. Hey, it's a big target, but I have a big appetite. Okay? And let me tell you, Goliath set out to have a good day, but he met David. Amen? And that's what we got to do. So if you go to my website at Collins4, that's Collins, F-O-R, 27.com, I have business cards and pamphlets, push cards, out on the table. I am ready, I'm poised, I can't wait to get going. We did videos yesterday, about 4 hours. We've got some very nice videos. I'm going to do some live Facebook posts on the fee in lieu of taxes. Don't miss them. Okay? I'm going to do one also on the GADC. Does anybody know what that means? Okay? They have the 4th floor penthouse that is not accessible to us. Okay? And they're badged out. You cannot even think about going to the 4th floor. And then I'm going to do one on the salaries of a particular individual, Mr. Cornell. $436,000 a year, folks. Something's wrong when our median income is barely $65,000. Okay? And real quick on the philo, you do not want to miss these live Facebook posts. If I could give you popcorn, I'll send you some, whatever. They're going to be good. They're going to be live. It's going to be about 20 minutes. And they're going to just reveal things to you that you just have no clue. And I think we have a good chance to bring it back to the people. And I don't mind if I have to lead the way, but I'm definitely not going to be following. Okay? So I appreciate your input, appreciate your being here. Yes, ma'am.
Has Butch decided to run? Do we know anything about that yet?
Real quick, about 2 months ago, I met with Mr. Kerr. Called him up 2 or 3 times, no response. I get it, busy. Emailed him, called him again, finally got a call back. I said, I would like to meet you for breakfast, wherever you want to go. Okay? How about Eggs Up Grill? I'll be there. Give me a time. 9:30 on a Tuesday. I'm there at 8:45. I'm a military guy. Amen? We don't want to miss anything. So when I get there, and this is one thing I asked him. I said, nice to meet you, General, with all due respect, from a first sergeant, retired. Amen? I said, I am going to challenge you. And his smile became a half smile, where the upper lip doesn't move anymore. Okay? In the intel world, you're told to look at certain facial features when you identify some half-truth. His upper lip was the half-truth. Okay? It went flatline. Beep. Where's my doctor? He leave? Okay. But you know what I'm saying? So those things, and I asked him, he says, well, I'm not sure I'm going to run. Good. I said, you have $37,000 in your bank account. Transfer it to me. He says, well, I still have a few things I want done. Tell me what they are. I'll make sure they're completed. If the people want them. Because if the people don't want them, I'll donate your donation to me to a charity in your name. Amen. And so at that point, I said, I'll buy you breakfast. I'll pay for it. Okay? So I'm not afraid, but all due respect, he's a general. And I told him, I'm not going to go personal. I'm not going to talk about you, your family, or anything else that associates to you, other than your voting record. I've been researching for the last 16 years, and this is what I told him. And I told him, all due respect, I'm going to put it around your neck and drag you through the street. I'm sorry. Hey, I want him to know I'm coming. And hell's following. Amen? Yes, sir.
A number of us believe that the county sheriff's office helped the state party violate state law by taking over the county convention. Do you have an opinion on that? And if you found that to be true, what do you think you might want to do about it?
I have no input on that, but if it is to be what you're saying, absolutely. If it's not for the people, I can't do it. Like Mr. Adams says. Hey, folks, it's time to stand up. You either fight for your beliefs and the people that put you there, or don't go there. And I don't have a problem with that. So I'm not sure of what the situation is, so I can't commit either way. But I do appreciate your question. But if I had a little more input on it, I'd definitely give you a straight answer because I'll get it right off the cuff. Okay? My delivery sometimes is straight. So how you receive it, I apologize.
Mr. Collins, Joanne Meadows came to me one time here in the county council, at the end of the council meeting. Joanne Meadows, Willis Meadows' wife, and said, did you realize that you made Butch Kirby so angry when you were talking, my little 3 minutes, that his face turned red, his neck was red, he was almost glowing. I said, I didn't realize that. About 20-cent sales tax, you'll remember. But my question to you is this. Adam, Alan, Josiah, and the others have found a very clever way to campaign. Have you consulted with anyone like them to get their seats? And that's good, like being a career helper in politics.
Right, and absolutely, and the experience level at that degree is something to draw from, and I do. I've talked with Mr. Adam a time or two at different events. I've talked to other people, Mr. Chumley, who I ran against 4 years ago. Probably one of the most conservative people in here, amen? Okay, but again, someone is poised to challenge him also that is not a conservative. Okay, so yes, that said, I am not afraid of anything other than I'm still hoping to get in the gates, amen? So when I die, I'm going to say my last plea, but I plead every day, Lord, please let me go through the gates.
From these others.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I have one of the best campaign managers that you could have, and Chris Sullivan right here, okay? And Jonathan Beatty. And 4 years ago when I ran against Mr. Chumley, Mr. Sullivan says, we were afraid of you. He said, who helped you? Me and my wife.
Chris, okay, but Chris Sullivan will tell you, I go back in after I was campaigning up, I and Evelyn were campaigning up in Chris's district. We're sitting there next morning, and Chris looked at me and says, this is what happened. Chris remembers. We're way up in your district, way up above Copper's Rest up there. And this lady, remember, asked us into her house. She was a strong leader of a precinct. Remember, Chris? She invites us in. This is something to be cautious about, Mr. Collins. She invites us in. Oh, yeah, I know Chris Sullivan. Yeah, encouraged us both. Tried to feed us dinner, sat there with a fireplace for at least 30 minutes. I thought we were becoming her BFFs.
Well,
Just what, Chris? Just what, Sullivan?
Is there a question?
okay, yeah, I gotta move on.
The question is this. When Chris will tell you, when you're out campaigning, be careful and note with these people that you see, do you consult with your people campaigning?
Absolutely.
This type of thing?
And this is not my first rodeo, but I'm ready to get on the horse again, amen?
So Gary, what's your Facebook page? Is it a Facebook page for the lives? What is that?
My Facebook page is Gary Collins, but my campaign website is collinsfor27.com. Get there, look at it, you'll be impressed.
That's awesome. Gary's in my district. I'm excited. Plus, he referees with my husband, so it's kind of cool. So we have Kelly Long that is going to run District 18. Miss Kelly, come on up for a few minutes.
Y'all got me really fired up tonight. Listen to all this. Thank you. I'm really excited. I am a career banker. I've got 37 years in money management. And that's why I'm running, because we got money problems, don't we?
Yes, we do.
The devil is always in the details, but the devil's always in the dollars too. Those go together, right? And so that's why I'm running. And after watching all the headlines about Greenville County Council, about fee in lieu of taxes and lawsuits, and they won't pay the money back, and then they raise the taxes, and it just kind of stinks, don't it? Aren't y'all tired of it? I am. But I tell you what, I've been fired up for about 2 years, and this year I just really prayed about it hard, and I have decided to do something about it. I'm a business person. I don't have any experience in public politics, but I've always been involved in public politics. I vote. I was one of those people last week, Adam, that I sent an email to every one of those people in the House, and I let them have it, and I said, I may not be in your district, but I'm going to embarrass the crap out of you if you push this through. And we got to do that, guys. We got to do it. And you know what? I actually got a couple of calls back this week. And that was really interesting. And I said, well, at least you did something decent, but I will still embarrass you if you continue to push on things like this. So that was kind of cool. But we're doing the right things, and I'm actually very excited to be a part of it, guys. I don't have a problem telling anybody no. My husband will tell you that right now. He's not here, but he would tell you on the phone if I called him. I will say no, and if there's 11 yeses to a tax increase, I can say no. Yes. I can do it. And I can justify it, and you're not going to make me do anything that I think's wrong, because you know why? I pray about everything I do. I will be talking to my neighbors, my friends, my pastor. Y'all, we know when we do things right and we do things wrong. We know that. And if we get so caught up in politics that we don't know the difference between right and wrong, we need to be fired and kicked out and run out on the train. That's just how I feel about it. So District 18 has some really good people in it. I've lived in that district my whole life. You know, I don't have anything personal against Mike Barnes, but I called Mike this week and I told him that I was going to be running against him. And I said, Mike, you've been in there 3 terms. It's time for somebody else to come in there. And I hope I'm not hurting your feelings, but I'm going to run because the Lord told me to run. And I told him, I said, the reason I'm running is this. I kept thinking, it's crazy to want to get in this mess. But then, you know, the words of Mordecai and Ruth and that situation, the Bible came to me. For such a time as this, if I'm not going to get involved, if I am going to get involved, isn't this the time? Yes. I mean, it's now put up or shut up. We're going to lose everything, right? That's right. So I'm excited about running. I'm not afraid. I'm like you, Gary. I'm not going to attack people. I will defend myself. But I think that if we have the right attitude and we're doing the right things, and we talked today, we're both excited. We have the same feelings. We're going to do what the Lord tells us to do, no matter what it is. And if we do that, we're going to be right. I'm not going to say everybody's going to always be happy, but we got to get in there and fight for this country, and it starts in our county because our grandchildren and our children and our parents deserve to retire. And if people sitting in this room don't care enough about that, we have nothing anyway, right? So thank you for giving me a minute. Pray for me. Tell me when I'm right. Tell me when I'm wrong. I don't have a problem with it because I'm going to do what's right, and I'm going to pray about everything I do. If you know anybody that lives in District 18, please have them talk to me. We have some good people in District 18 and all across Greenville County, and we can do this thing. We can turn it around. We can stop the overgrowth. We can stop the overdevelopment. We can stop the mismanagement of money. We can do it, but we have to stand. Thank you guys for your time.
Okay, so remember Kelly Long, District 18, she didn't have anything yet because she's just starting out. This is kind of like a preview. So look for that if you're in District 18. And we also have Tremaine Booker running for District 18. So he's going to come talk for a few minutes too.
Wow, I feel good to be among friends. So Kelly mentioned that there are some really good people in District 18, and I could not agree with her more. I think that county, though, has lost its way. They don't listen to what we have to say. In fact, when the tax increase came up, me and several other presidents and ECs wrote a letter to our councilman asking him not to do this, and he didn't listen. To me, your one job, if you had any job to do, is to listen to your constituents and do exactly what they ask you to do. And when you go against the will of the people, then it's time for you to go. It's plain and simple. So a couple years ago, I got fired up. I saw what was happening in South Carolina overall, and I was really good about looking at the national stage, understanding who was in all these different positions and things like that. But it is on a local level. It starts on the local level, and if we cannot have solid people with integrity on the local level, then when it gets to Columbia, it's not gonna happen. And then when it gets to the national level, it's not gonna happen. And we've got to take a stand. Representative Morgan mentioned that we are in a fight for our lives, and this election is a very, very important election. And I agree with that 100%. And we need to have people with integrity. We need to have people who will listen to the folks who they are representing and do exactly what they ask for them to do. And that's what I plan to do. I tell everyone that that as I look around, I see that the overdevelopment is crazy. We all have the same issues. The issues with traffic. Getting in here was a pain. I don't know if y'all know about that. And overdevelopment. And we have tax issues, and my job, when I get in there, I want to roll back that tax increase because I feel it was done in a legal way. That's why we got the lawsuit. And we've got to really, really look at where our money is going and why our budget does not match what was proposed. To me, that's just basic things. And we've got to really look at these fees in lieu of taxes, like Mr. Collins mentioned. We are giving out so many sweetheart deals, and we've really got to watch these things. There's several other things that I'd love to talk to you about. If you've got a moment, I'd love to tell you about some of the things that I see just looking over the budget and understanding what's in there and what needs to change. But for District 18, not Barnes, it doesn't matter if it's me or Kelly, great folks, but we have to make a change, and you can be a part of that. And I would appreciate if you knew anyone in District 18, or if you wanted to check out my Facebook page. It's Tremaine Booker for Greenville County. I've got some literature with me if you're interested. But like I said, we have got to make a change. It starts with each and every one of us making a difference on the local level and doing what we can, when we can, and the time is now. Thanks.
Okay, we're moving right along. We got a couple minutes on each of these committee updates. You guys, these are doing so good, so good. Okay, so medical freedom, a few minutes on Mike Voden. Let's come on up here, and then we're gonna do, Scott Gear's gonna do a little bit of poll worker and election integrity angle. And then Stefan, there he is. Stefan's gonna do candidate recruitment, because we still need a few more candidates, right? Okay, Mike, a few minutes on that.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks for hanging in there. I'm actually here on the behest of a gentleman by the name of Dwayne Leet, who has a PhD in microbiology and computer science, and I don't. So just stick with me. I want to focus on a couple of bills that he was going to talk about, and I've got handouts out on that red table if you want the details. As our legislators had said, the more that we reach out and we talk about our will and what we want, the more they react. So we really need you to work on these bills and press if you believe in them. One of the ones that I really wanted to talk about, and I think it's really important, and it ties back into CBCDC, the central banking digital system, is the WHO is drafting a treaty on preparedness for emergencies. And it's due to hit the White House and Washington, D.C. for signature in May of this year. And I think it's a precursor to digital currency in the fact that it's one more way of attacking our constitutional rights and our own personal sovereignty. And it's a really serious thing. What they have planned that I'm aware of right now, and there's a lot of news media saying that it doesn't affect our sovereignty, but I think it does. In fact, I know it does. And it really revolves not just around the next pandemic. It could be climate change. It could be a financial meltdown. It could be a war. They would have the ability to shut us down, force us into drugs, send us out to camps. It is a real threat to our freedom. And the state has the ability to protect us because we have our own sovereign positions as well. And while we want to go after the federal government in putting pressure on them not to sign this thing, we also want within South Carolina to have bills that will help protect us within our state if this thing does go forward, and we're running out of time. So the bill that I'm talking about that would impact that is House 4246. You can look that up online. These are real easy to find. They're not real hard to read. And then you can poise yourself to what you want to say to your representative to get them behind this to support this bill. I think the other bill is the gender reassignment one is another real critical bill that we would like your support on, and that is H4624. The other one is the abortion, starting in Senate Medical Affairs from conception, and that is House 3774. And then the last one is a broader bill. It's Senate 975, and it's the South Carolina Medical Freedom Act. More detail on this and the way to look them up is out there in those handouts. But I really think it's something that we have to take very, very seriously and realize that it's coming on very, very quickly. We're not too far from May right now. That's only 4 months. So I appreciate everyone's support on that. I would like to personally thank all the representatives that came out here. You guys are doing a great job. We just need more of you. That means we've got to fill these rooms with more people. As our representative comes and as you guys talk and share the quality that you got when you came here, hopefully we can keep growing this and get to hundreds, and we can get to thousands of people. And then that's when we're going to really have a movement. Thank you.
If you all can, you have a smartphone with you, take it out. Ask you all to do that. I want to keep it real simple. Go to GreenvilleGOP.com. At the bottom of the page, there's sign up for GCRP poll watchers. If you're a poll worker, manager, or clerk, or if you want to poll watch, click on that link, put your name in there, I'll assign you a poll location. That's it, simple as that. That's all I wanted to talk about. There's a lot to cover with election integrity, but that is the most you could do today, right now, for election integrity. That's it.
Woo! Yay, Scott. That was awesome, Scott.
Good afternoon, good Republicans. Notice I said good, not just Republicans. Anybody can be a Republican, as we found out today, but that doesn't make you a good Republican. Thank y'all so much for your time, and thank you so much for coming out today. The candidate recruitment committee needs your help. We need members, and we also need good conservatives that want to run for office. We probably meet twice a month, so we won't take up that much time. And if you want to see how politics work, in that committee, we see good candidates. We see good people that come out to want to do good work for our community and their constituents. So we're asking, I have a sign-up sheet right here. I'm going to put it outside. If you would like to join, or if you just want to come to a meeting to see what we do, and then decide whether you want to join or not, we have sign-up sheets. And if you know somebody that might want to run, that has an inkling they might want to run, or somebody at church said they're tired of the county council, the city council, send them our way. And you can reach me at S as in Sam, D as in David, M as in man, 1911 at hotmail.com. That's my email address. My phone number is 803-479-0844. You can reach me on either one of those, and I'll be more than glad to reach back out to you. We are looking for people to be on the committee as well as good candidates. So if you know somebody that might want to be either or,
both and, please send them my way. Thank you so much for your time. Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Stefan Taylor. S-T-E, P as in Paul, H as in Herman, O-N-E-T-A-Y-L-O-R. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Okay, we have two things left for, these were last minute things to fit in. Mike Fortner is running for sheriff. He's gonna come up here a few minutes because we're excited about that. He's gonna talk a few minutes and then Olga's gonna tell us something about door knocking, right?
Yes.
Yes. All right, here's Mike Faulkner.
Thank you. I'm Mike Fortner. I'm running for sheriff of Greenville County. I started getting involved with the Greenville GOP probably back in about February, about a year ago now. And I've learned a lot, particularly as far as the importance of local politics. Never really paid a whole lot of attention to local politics beforehand, but by going there, I've learned a lot and started paying attention. In January, about, 2 weeks ago or so, I met with the sheriff and informed him of my intentions of running for sheriff. I worked there for 29 years, retired in August of 22. I saw a lot of things happen, a lot of things I didn't really like, the way things were getting done, the way employees were getting treated. So I let him know that I was going to run against him. And one thing about the sheriff's office is that there's no secrets there. Once something gets told, it eventually leaks out. And it didn't take long. It took maybe about 5 days or so before I started getting phone calls from several past employees, people that have quit, people that have retired. And they're really excited about it because they know what goes on there and what happens. And so they're all behind me. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I was there for 29 years. Worked in uniform patrol for about 5 years, and I moved to investigations where I did white collar crime investigations, family violence investigations, robbery, homicide. So I was in investigations about 18 total years. And then when the previous Lewis came along, Will Lewis, he asked me to move over to internal affairs when he first came in. So I went to internal affairs, and I did that for a couple of years, and it involved working officer-involved shootings, kind of like what they had last night, for example. So I got a lot of really good experience there, working the ins and outs of the sheriff's office as far as conducting investigations of employees, officer-involved shootings, inspections of the divisions and things like that. And I did that for, a little over 2 years or so, and then I moved to the accreditation part of the sheriff's office, where the sheriff's office maintains its national accreditation through what's called the Commission on the Accreditation of Law Enforcement Agencies. It's called CALEA, and it also has a state accreditation. So my job there was to make sure that we maintained our accreditation. So I've got a lot of experience as far as that's concerned too. So I'm looking forward to this. I need y'all's support. I know I'm fighting an uphill battle with the sheriffs. I mean, he's been in there one term already. So I know I got an uphill battle. I can use your support financially, volunteer-wise. Send me an email if you're willing to volunteer, and when I start getting things together as far as maybe some fundraisers or things along that line, I need some volunteers, if somebody can call on, I'd appreciate it. I got a website up, votemikefortner.com, and my Facebook page is also Vote Mike Fortner Facebook page, as well as the Instagram page. I'm going to do my best to keep that stuff up to date, keep it, fresh or whatever, so people want to keep coming back to it. So I really would appreciate y'all's help and anything. And anybody got any questions?
When's the election?
The election, of course, will be June 11th, the primary. 2 weeks before that, I believe, they're going to have early voting. So keep that in mind. Because as far as the Republicans candidates are concerned, it's going to be decided in June, obviously. So that's going to be an important time. So we got about, a little less than 5 months now before that happens. So it's getting here quick. Yes, sir.
You
you alluded to things, you knew things that went on in the sheriff's department. What are things that we should be concerned about with the current administration?
It's mostly what I'm referring to is employees, the way they get treated, promotion process is a really big one, the way that gets taken care of. Just the way that they're treated in general, the morale is really, really low. I think morale could be much higher. When the current sheriff first came on, morale kind of went up a little bit. After the whole incident with Will Lewis and everything, things were kind of in the dumps pretty good. And so when the current sheriff came along, morale kind of went up really good because things were looking really positive, but then it just all come crashing back down again. So there's just a lot of internal issues. I'm not saying anything necessarily corruption or anything along those lines, but just the way employees are treated and everything just results in low morale. And low morale employees generally don't do as good of work as they could do if they had high morale. Yes, sir.
What's your position on civil asset forfeiture?
You talking about like for drugs and stuff like that, property?
Or any, yeah, taking property where no one has been convicted.
Well, I mean, if they're involved in criminal activity and...
No, they have not been convicted.
Okay, have not been convicted.
That's right.
Well, I don't think anybody's property should be forfeited if they haven't been convicted of a crime. I mean, that's one of the great things about our country is you're considered to be not guilty until proven guilty. You know, like that young man up there in Wisconsin. He got in that shooting up there during the riots and everything. He kind of got railroaded. That's what our Constitution is supposed to protect, is getting railroaded by the government. And he was found not guilty. So, no, I don't believe anybody should have anything taken from them if they're not guilty. Yes, sir.
Mike,
A question, please, a question.
it is a question.
Let's go.
Okay. It is definitely a question. Having campaigned for Tommy, and Hobart knew it, I became a big fan of Hobart. I am. So let me ask you, you said morale is back down again. Have you not seen Hobart Lewis start doing things, initiating things long-term to boost the morale of the sheriff's department?
I have not, no, sir. During my time there, I saw nothing to help with the morale. Like I said, one of the big issues that's there is the promotion process. He first came in, he made some changes to it. Things were like I said, was looking good, like he was going to make some progress with that. But he kind of backed off of it and went right back down to where it was to begin with. Yes, Gary.
We've had, as you know, a lot of problems outside the abortion facility, and we don't feel like we've gotten a good enough response from the sheriff's office. What would you have done?
Obviously, everybody's got the right to protest on what it is that they believe in or don't believe in. While you're out there protesting, you also have the right not to be harassed by the other side. I've seen the videos on the website that Kerry set up. If y'all haven't seen it, y'all really ought to take a look at it. There's Chaos on Grove Road.
LifeOnGroveRoad.com.
LifeOnGroveRoad.com. You really ought to take a look at it. It's kind of disturbing, some of those videos that's taken place. I'm not sure why the lack of action is taking place there. I don't know. I did not talk to the sheriff about that, although when I was speaking with him, he did tell me that would be a hot issue, that situation down there. But no, I do not believe that if you're out there protesting, you definitely got the right to say your side and not be harassed by the other side with megaphones and people taking your signs and all that kind of thing.
Mike, so does the sheriff's office do a good job of inputting data into the crime statistic maps? Because one of my concerns is that with the city of Greenville being on this slippery blue slope, you know, heading towards a very Democrat type city, I saw something the other day that said they're now actually realtors and these crime stats are actually not reporting stats because it's influencing people's real estate purchases. So I want to know, you know, do we have a good system of inputting crime data And, you know, is that something that you would maintain?
Yes, definitely something I would maintain. We do have a lady that takes care of the crime stats. She enters things regularly. A lot of times what happens, a lot of agencies, particularly places that are like tourist attractions, they might fudge the stats a little bit by maybe downplaying the actual crimes that took place, that kind of thing. And no, I don't believe in that. Everything should be honest and open.
Mike, Debbie's in the back. Question.
Yes.
So who is the sheriff? Does the sheriff have a boss or is he accountable to anyone?
He's accountable to the people of Greenville County in this case.
Right, so he's accountable, he's an elected official, he's only really accountable to us.
That's correct, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and everyone understands that?
Yes.
That's the coroner. Yes, sir.
Scott, you're next. Scott, wait, I'm sorry, Scott was next. Scott and then Brett.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that I'm all about data. I've been harvesting data from all over the place. And I just did a FOIA request that got completed yesterday, where 82, in the last 3 years, there's 82 incident reports at that women's clinic of all sorts of things. And it truly is disgusting what's happening. And as a new sheriff, I would expect that you would handle that situation vastly different from Hobart. Hobart has failed this county with how he's treated rightful white people.
I agree. From watching those videos that Carrie's got out there, I don't believe that the vulgar and obscene actions of the people that are out there reflect the citizens of Greenville County standards. And because of that, something needs to be done.
Brett?
The question I was going to ask you was more appropriate for like a county council candidate, so please ignore it.
I have a question about being a constitutional sheriff.
Yes, I believe in being a constitutional sheriff. That certainly should be what runs the sheriff's office, law enforcement in general, is the Constitution. And it should definitely be adhered to. Everybody's rights should be upheld without any kind of discrimination or malice or anything along those lines. That's one of the great things about our country is we got this Constitution, the Bill of Rights, that protects us from overreach of the government, and I do believe in upholding that.
There's an organization of constitutional sheriffs. Would you be a part of that?
Yes, I kind of looked that up a little bit, was looking into that. I know some people, when they say constitutional sheriff, they've got different ideas of what that is. But yes, looking at that, I would, yes.
All right. Y'all good? Mike, what's your website again?
The website is MikeFortner.com, and same thing for the Facebook, it's the same thing. And I do have some business cards out here on this table, so if you'd like to grab one on your way out, it's got all that information on it, as far as the email and phone number too. Thank you.
Okay, Olga's going to tell us something about door knocking for a few minutes, and then if anybody wants to, we'll do a really quick run on what's bugging you. We're just going to write them down, just want to hear what's bugging you, all right? So here's Olga.
Hello everyone, I am Olga and I am helping Trump campaign coordinate volunteers between the campaign and the Greenville County Republican Party. Just to remind everyone, we are 36 days before the presidential preference primary, and if you ever thought about getting involved, this is the time. There are several candidates running, as we know. If you would like to or be interested in helping President Trump's campaign, please let us know. This is the time to get involved. You can make phone calls, go door knocking, well, those two things at this time, but you can do it from the comfort of your home. You can do it at the Greenville County Republican Party headquarters. You can do it at the campaign, Trump campaign headquarters downtown. There's, groups of people going every weekend, every afternoon. There are people, going together. You can do it separately. Some people work from home and make calls during work days. So a lot of options. We have Trump, South Carolina, Team Trump t-shirts. We have literature at the headquarters. We have some signs actually outside if you want to grab for your
Yard, if you know anyone, again, 30 days, 36 days before the election, and this is the time to get involved. Today we got a phone call, someone wanted signs for their business. We had our staff at the office, I don't know where Glenn is, but he packed up the car with yard signs, delivered the signs, and we have a happy new member of Greenville County Republican Party just because he wanted to support President Trump. So we have a sign-up sheet there. If you would like to volunteer, call Greenville GOP headquarters, put your name down. This is the time to get involved. Any questions, anyone? Oh, Scott?
Yeah, I want to make the point that there are other candidates.
Yes.
Those candidates did not ask us to help them.
Right.
So-
Well, yes,
Yeah.
like I said, there are several candidates running. I have reached out to several different campaigns. Some hang up on us, some never called back, some delivered literature, and that was about it. Not one campaign reached out to us and asked for help the way Trump campaign did. The state director visited us last week. He showed up. The South Carolina Trump campaign state director actually came to headquarters and participated in phone banking with us. He said he will be back soon. The upstate director, Callie Finch, has been amazing. She begs us for help. So they ask us for help, we deliver. And again, at this point, I'm coordinating those efforts. But if there's any other candidates that you know that want help and they want to reach out, Greenville County Republican Party website headquarters, contact us, and I'm sure we'll find someone that will be available.
Okay, so Chrissy's gonna be our Vanna White real quickly. And she's gonna write down, we can move these, and what we're gonna do is, I want you to raise your hand and just like tell us what's bugging you. So we're gonna like, if it's immigration, if it's a county council, it's taxes, whatever, we're just gonna make a list. All right, Scott?
There are buses of illegal aliens being dropped off in Berea.
All right. Illegal on Berea, in Berea.
Thank you.
All right, tell me, come on, be brave, let's go. David, what's up?
Pass me my phone.
Tommy, come on.
I stole his phone.
That was good, awesome, Chuck.
Apathy of the voter.
What is it? Apathy of voters, thank you. Back there.
Secure elections.
Secure elections. Mike.
Everybody in this room is really active. We need you guys to drag people into these meetings. We gotta get it bigger, we gotta get more people in the party.
Drag the people in, get them in, have barbecues, have little house parties, so get more people involved. Frank, you had something? Okay, Elizabeth? Open primaries.
Low voter turnout.
Low voter turnout. Come on. Back there. I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
No, it's all right. Too many Democrats saying they're Republicans.
Too many rhinos. Brett.
Bugs me that this is the only church I can think of where this could happen.
Yep.
How blessed we are. You know why? And you know what's it's so ironic. When we did reorg, the SCGOP picked this place. And then I just asked. So look at that, how that turned around. And they're a blessing. We're going to have our business meeting here. What a blessing. And please, if you can donate even, maybe next time we have a meeting, whatever, how great. Because she was like, are you okay? Are you coming? Whatever you need. What a blessing. Thank you. Thank you, Brett.
Okay, the workforce housing, overdevelopment, and that's really, bothers me a lot, particularly where I live.
Where is that workforce housing?
All the apartments they're building, all the places.
Like
overdevelopment.
Overdevelopment.
And the poor roads, bad roads.
Oh my gosh, roads.
Bad roads.
Roads. Traffic.
Yes.
Potholes. And our gas taxes go where? Right. Overdevelopment. Who else? What else, you guys?
What about the cameras? They're taking our pictures everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Cameras. They just want to. They're really happy to take our money for the cameras, but they don't fix the roads. Oh my gosh.
And if they tied to the red lights, the programmer's pathetic.
Yes. You got another one?
Fee in lieu of taxes. Every time you go to council meeting, they're cutting these sweetheart deals. with these
Taxes from county council.
The night they voted in the tax increase, Butch Kirby brought out 3 or 4 filos that
I know,
night.
I just.
Yeah, Butch Curvin. Thank God for Gary Collins. Remember that name, you guys. We're gonna make some changes here.
The Volkswagen Scout deal.
Oh, Volkswagen Scout deal. That was rammed through. Adam Morgan should be standing here listening too. Because he's, not that he was part of that, but I mean, it's the same thing, fighting leadership. Scott.
We should not have to pay for voter data. We need, I don't know how to express that.
Okay, so we pay for voter data if we want it. It's like $25 per.
It's $2,500 for the whole state. Well, that's actually, if you were to do it each person, it'd be massive. It'd be very expensive, but.
Okay, so voter data should be free through the state.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, you had one?
I couldn't get the heater out of the picture. Well, I could have gotten it.
I've noticed frequently, I'm assuming they're illegal, but at Home Depot working in the gardens, they'll feed.
Oh, no, so possibly illegal employees, possibly. Oh, so E-Verify, not working. Mike Bowden.
It's interesting that there's 150 million floating around for universities that have more endowment money they know what to do with, but we can't get school choice for our kids.
Right.
Yeah, so what do we call that?
That's 285, pass it.
S-285, pass S-285. Pass Senate Bill 285. Yvonne.
Something we learned today from Larry Barnett of York, that all of the legislators appoint the trustees for all of the universities. So what the question becomes, why are Republican legislators appointing woke university trustees? You know, so I had no idea of that, but all these public universities.
We call that corruption? I don't know.
Right,
What do we
yeah.
call that?
I don't know what you call it.
What's the word?
But it's like the academic trustee.
It's kind of the feed the beast or
the academic swamp.
Greasy academic swamp. Greasy palms, I'll grease yours, you grease mine. Carrie.
Judicial reform.
Judicial reform.
Yes.
Back there, John.
SCGOP corruption.
What is it?
The SCGOP.
SCGOP.
Corruption.
Drew McKissick corruption. For sure.
Paper ballots. We want the paper ballots.
Paper ballots. We had that paper ballot rally. We went there in the rain.
Hand marked, hand counted, paper ballot.
Yes.
Thank you.
Paper ballots. Paper ballots. Is that a bill? Do we have is there a bill for that one at all? I don't know. I just know we were there, fighting it. That was a fascinating. Everybody, if you ever get a chance, go to a legislative meeting. We're up in the gallery, and watched it. Watched them all talking. Watch what Adam said with the papers. We watched the guy do this, do this, do this, do this, and it's very interesting. It's a great what do you call it? Field trip. Yeah. Are we good? Okay, Glenn, you're going to come say a closing prayer. So a couple things. We're going to try to do this quarterly. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for all attending. This is so great. If you, GreenvilleGOP.com pretty much gets you somewhere, right? Poll watching.
Poll watching.
And what?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Wait, I can tell you one more thing. Okay, my magazine out there, Locally Grown, on the inside cover. This is just super. April 7th, we're going to have a mom prom 2024 at Aurora Farms, Mike Fortner's place. And we are going to fundraise for Resilient Arrow, that is collaborating with us for domestic abuse survivor recovery. So we're going to raise money, we're going to dance, we're going to have fun, we're going to do karaoke, we're going to have swag bags, but we're going to help domestic violence survivors. So check out the magazine as you go along for Mom Prom, because that should be fun too. So thank you. You're all so great. And Glenn's going to say a prayer. Thank you all. Have a safe night home.
Awesome job. Really good. A
Awful lot to take home with us. Y'all stand up and just bow your head and I'll close us in prayer. Our Father and our God, we thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you for helping us to serve our country and our community. We ask you grace upon the leaders here tonight and our elected officials. Give them power and wisdom. Encourage them. And we thank them for the efforts that they are making. Holy Spirit, help us to be selfless. Help us to seek your guidance, your counsel in stressful times. That we will be exemplary in our lives. That we can be confident that you are with us. You're guiding us in the decisions that we make. Thank you for helping us, encouraging us to be better citizens and better neighbors. We ask the Holy Spirit to give us wisdom, courage, and strength to do your will in our lives and in the lives of others. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.